Hi there, my name is Toby, and today I want to continue really with the talk I was doing yesterday on electroculture, but today I'm talking about a design. This is a design for an ether generator, and its real first use, most practical use, is probably electroculture, but you can use it for all sorts of things. And I believe this design, even if you made it big enough and in a certain way, it would still have a slight real electromagnetic effect. You'd actually be able to measure something going on. But for now, this machine is really only measurable in the ether. You will feel it. You will feel the power. Remember, the ether is spirit. It's not physical, metaphysical. But the ether manifests itself into electromagnetism that is physical. So you've got to study my ether physics series for me to explain this in detail how it works. But this is a real free energy generator. It's a real thing as long as you understand what ether is. And ether is the underlying field behind the energy. It's the field that comes before electromagnetism. Put it like that. And I've talked about it on this channel a lot, free energy machines, how you would actually create one that is useful in technology, i.e. a machine that will produce an electric current. We've already got a free energy machine. This is a magnet. It's already energy coming out, continuously. So that is in itself a free energy machine giving out continuous magnetic energy. So another one of these we have to build that will give out electrical energy. It's not a big deal, but we haven't quite got there yet. But for now, I can still reveal these plans for an ether generator, an ether machine. This is a thing that will collect the etheric energy, the life force. And that is most useful, of course, in electroculture. And again, I talk about it a lot. I often said this: if anyone invents a free energy machine, one that can produce a current, so we can all have free electricity, well, you've got to let the plans get out. You're going to have to just give them away for free. It's a big deal, very difficult to do that, especially if you've worked so hard on it all your life and spent your time and money, and then you're just going to give away the plans for free. But you have to. A free energy machine is too dangerous. They're never going to let it out. And it's happened before. All these new technologies, you try and patent it. Essentially, you're just giving it away to the matrix. They'll hide it away and that's the end of you. There's so many of these you can see. Inventors that their lives ended in mysterious circumstances. So you've got to be careful, and you have to give it away for free, however difficult it is. And that's what I'm doing. So again, I've got to show the way. And this design is pretty personal. I spent years on this. I can't describe how long it took me and how difficult it was to get this idea, how to create this. So it's a big deal, and I'm giving it away for free. You can all build this. You can all make this when I explain it to you. But if any of you really want to make a big one, a powerful one that you need to spend some money on, then get in touch with me and we'll work together and build a proper plan. Because there are details to this. You can all make one for virtually nothing for free with things you find in the garden. But if you want to spend money, make a really powerful one, we need to use crystals, we need to use metal, copper, and we really need to use gold. So again, money is involved, unfortunately, at the moment. But if anyone's up for that, please do get in touch and we'll design something properly. But let me explain this to you properly and draw you some diagrams. And in these diagrams, again, I'm going to overview how electroculture works, and then you've got some images. And if you're serious about it, just freeze frame the video and use that image, and you've got an image of a design, and you can build this. You can build this. Once you understand how it works, it will all make sense to you. So let's draw some pictures. So the simplest electroculture, you've got the earth here, the ground, and then all you do is you put a pole in the ground, a long metal pole under the ground, deep in the ground. So what you've got, the very first thing you've got is electrostatics. You have a high voltage from the atmosphere to the earth. And all you're doing is picking up the voltage and bringing it down. And you can do this with a coil of wire, spin it round, coil the wire round and round, like this. So you can have a wood, this could be a copper pole going up, or you can have a stick of wood and a copper wire going around it. And this is bringing the voltage down into the ground. Now there's also, underground there's voltage, there's electricity. This is called telluric currents. So even this, if you go deep underground, will help to bring them up. There's two forces going on. You've got the force at the top, we can call that heaven, okay, using esoteric terms. And then of course we've got earth. And there's the voltage difference. So you're just trying to bring this voltage down. But also you've got light coming in, all different sorts of frequencies coming in. So you can create an antenna, any sort of shape wire. And they're different shapes, simple angle like this you can have, literally like a TV aerial, or you can create any shape you think is good. There's some patterns you can look into and create an actual proper pattern. But even just a coat hanger, you know, just open up a coat hanger and you've got a pattern. And this helps to pick up radio waves. So again, you can play with this and experiment. And again, I've left the links to Ken Wheeler, who talks about this radio antenna. So that's quite a simple scientific thing you can do. But the easiest one, of course, is a stick of wood and a coil of wire. And this in itself looks like the DNA. But this is a vortex of energy, a spiral of energy. And that's the way it works as well. Vortexes of energy come in from the heaven and from the earth. And this is like, again, like the DNA. And the DNA is designed to pick up light frequencies. So when you do this, you're creating resonance with the DNA, good for living things, plants. But you're also, of course, picking up frequencies. It's bringing in energy, electromagnetism as well. So that is the simplest electroculture. Now the second most simplest one, again, so that one, the first one is really to collect the electrostatics from the atmosphere. The second one is an ancient one, that's the dolmen, which I talked about. So there's the earth, and you have three rocks. One rock like that, and then another rock on top like this. And now this one is to do with the earth energy, electricity in the earth. Here you've got the telluric currents. There's always electric currents under the earth, but it's also pressure. The weight of this rock on the top is pushing down on these two rocks, and if these are slightly crystalline, you're going to have a piezoelectric effect. It will create electricity. And then what you've got then is you'll get a circuit. You get a circuit of electricity going round and round and round like this. You're connecting to the electric currents in the earth and bringing them up. So this creates a dynamic, and again, this will help the growth all around. So this is slightly different. Electricity from the earth, and you have the pole going higher, it's electricity from the heaven, up above, and that's from below. But it's still the same thing, electricity and magnetism. We're trying to create a dynamic between these things. To put very simply, electricity is this distance, a voltage. Magnetism is a shape. Magnetism is a volume, a shape. So when you create large shapes, that is stimulating the magnetic field or attracting it. Again, this is not going to be scientifically noticeable. This is etheric. But what you're doing is producing a pattern, a geometry that is stimulating the ether to become electromagnetism. You're going back before electromagnetism. So it's very hard for us to understand this. You've got to understand metaphysics for this. This is metaphysics, but metaphysics comes before physics. So when you do this, this stimulates the actual metaphysics of the plant to grow, the life force itself. And if you get this big enough, like a giant dolmen, you will have measurable electric currents. You'll be able to detect something going on. There will be actual frequencies happening. So these are the two basic electroculture designs. Now, the one I'm working on, okay, is a combination. So you've got one more to do. You've got the pole in the ground. You create a coil of wire going around the coil like a double helix, and at the top you can have a crystal. There you put a crystal at the top, and you can even have it branching out, some copper wire coming out like that. Very common design, people make these. And again, the same thing, you're creating a vortex, but at the top you've got a crystal, and a crystal is also a receiver. It will pick up frequencies. In the old-fashioned radios, you used to have a little crystal. That was the tuning device. So the crystal picks up frequencies from the atmosphere. Again, this is very subtle frequencies. You see, what we want is not about quantity, it's about full spectrum. It's about balance and harmony. So again, if you're looking to measure stuff, it's not about measurement, it's about finding a balance of energies. That's tricky to understand, tricky to measure. So these very slight electromagnetic frequencies picked up by the crystal and brought in. So we might not be able to measure it, but that is significant enough for a plant to grow. It will make a difference to a life form. It's quite subtle because we need full spectrum light, so do plants. We need all frequencies, even invisible frequencies. The crystal will pick them up. But furthermore, the ether is metaphysics, and that is in itself information. So in metaphysical information, the spirit itself is picked up and brought in. That whole thing is completely undetectable. Again, you're operating on faith until you understand it. So again, there's no harm building this and just trying it out. So now the design that I'll tell you about. So the design I've got is what I call a spiral pyramid, and it's also like a teepee. So if you have a teepee, you've got a pyramid like this. There's the ground. So there's the pyramid, and on the base of the ground you have a crystal point. So there's a crystal going up there, and at the top here you have a sphere. So there's two things going on. Now, this is an ether generator for several reasons. This is resonating with fundamental principles of the universe. This here is a crystal point, and it's rising up from the earth. So this is going to draw energy upwards into the point of the crystal, and this point has got a point up here to the spiral. At the top here, you've got a little coil of wire going round and round and round. So here there's a coil of wire holding it all together. And this coil of wire is in itself creating an effect. This is about creating a disturbance in the ether. So I'm creating a dynamic. I've got to create a dynamic. Here we've got something happening. This is sort of stationary. But at the top here we've got a little spiral and a coil of wire, and this creates a dynamic up into a sphere. So this will go up into the sphere, to the center of the sphere, and then project energy in all directions because it's a sphere. So now what you're doing is creating a field of energy around it. And again, I believe we could build this big enough, you'd actually detect something. You'd actually detect some physical electromagnetism going on. But of course, at the scale we're building it, you probably won't notice anything physically, but you will feel the energy, and the plants, you can have the plants growing up. The plants will notice this. You can have it like this. And you can do it like a teepee. So you can have lots of sticks coming around like that. Lots of sticks going around. And then at the top, you coil them all together with a copper wire. You tie them all together. And if you see what you do, you have to align the sticks in a spiral. So when you go around, they're in a spiral. So at the top, you've got a spiral and a little hole between the sticks. So that's what you've got to do at the top. So this is this is why it's called the spiral pyramid. The base, you can have different numbers of sticks, or different. Again, this could be copper. So you could have this four sticks, 4 points. So it's a square. You could have 6. So now it's a hexagram at the base. You could have 5. It could be a pentagram at the base. Again, perfect pentagram. That is incommensurable geometry, the magic symbol. If you could have the Pythagorean pentagram at the base, that's very powerful. Then you'd have 5 sticks going up into a spiral and a coil of wire, and then another crystal ball at the top. So you can see it's a dynamic. This one rises up, hits this one, and this one spreads out. This is a point, a line. This is a circle, a sphere. These are two fundamental principles. This is the line of inertia. This is a magnet. This is a proton. This is a circle. This is a neutron. Two fundamental aspects of the universe. This is the dielectric component. This is the magnetic component. This is the yang. This is the yin. Male and female. You can see the male. And this is the female. You can see the female. So you're creating a very powerful dynamic of fundamental principles of the universe. And these are both crystals. So this is crystals means amplification. A crystal will amplify the energy. So you can just think of this as a teepee. Literally a teepee, but a crystal on top and a crystal at the bottom. And you can have the plants growing up the sides. You can make this thing really beautiful. Now there's more to it than that. Like I've talked about in the previous lecture on Electroculture. So you haven't seen it, please watch it. It explains in more detail. But you need the mathematics of the golden ratio. You see, I calculate all these sizes based on the crystals I'm using. For example, at the height of this crystal, Okay, this, if you measure the height of this crystal, you call it 1. Then you take the space here, from here to here, and you call that phi, golden ratio. So if this is 1, this will be 1.618 something, something, something. So you've got a proportionality of the golden ratio to do with the space. This is in the empty space part of it. So there's nothing here. This is empty space. You've got to get the balance of objects, real physical objects, and geometry or space. So this pyramid defines a space. And that is what magnetism is. Magnetism creates space. So if you create geometry, something in space, that will also have an effect on the field. Again, very subtle. But remember, we're dealing with ether. This is not yet electromagnetism. If we could collect enough ether, we would see some electromagnetism. And it would come from here. It would actually measure a magnetic field coming out. Because what is this? This is a point of inertia. Again, if you study my ether physics series, this is the secret of free energy. You have to create a point of inertia from which energy emerges. That's the magnet. A magnetic field comes out of a point of inertia. So we're trying to create one. We're projecting powerful energy up to this point such that it explodes out. And now what you're doing is creating an aura for your garden. You're creating a space. And this is an ether generator, because of course it doesn't have to be in a garden. You can be sitting here and meditating. This will collect life force energy. You will feel it. You will feel the energy of it. So it's multi-purpose. But remember, the ether is to do with spirit. It's subjective experience. It's to do with the evolution of your soul, gaining wisdom. And I would argue that's the most important thing for us all to do anyway. So again, you can have measure the distance of the base of this to the sides of the pyramid. You've got to do a certain amount of calculations, but ultimately you feel it. See, if you just build this with anything you've got, this might not have a crystal, but you might have something in the garden, a particular rock, some particular rock of a nice shape. And you might have a shell, something else you could put up here, or a cheap crystal, something very cheap. Doesn't matter what it is. And these could just be sticks. And then here's copper wire. So you need a bit of copper. And you could also coil copper wire all the way down if you wanted to, each one of these sticks going into the ground. So you can play with this a bit. But the ultimate design of a base, which is pristine geometry. So my spiral pyramid, let's do it again. My spiral pyramid is more simple. The base is a square. It's just a square. Again, I'll show it in the previous lecture. And then the lines come up like this. One goes to there. One goes to there. Oops. One goes to there. I haven't done that quite right. One goes to there. But if you can see, those go in a spiral around. They'll go in a spiral around. And then you have to have a little hole here, a gap in the middle. So this allows, again, it's about the empty space. It's got to line up. The crystal below has got to line up with this point, and then it's got to line up with the crystal ball at the top. And then here, in this point, a very important point, there's the copper wire around it, coiled around it to hold the spiral. So now you've got pristine geometry of a square, and again, you could measure this square. The square is important. It symbolizes material reality, the four corners of the earth. But again, its geometry connects to reality in many different ways that it's hard for us to understand. Very hard for us to understand. So the square is an important one. And it's very, very simple. So the square comes up to the circle and it's going through a coil. You're creating, because these are twisting, you're creating a vortex, a spiral of energy going up just by the geometry. And this vortex passes through this, ends up in the crystal, and then again projects energy out all around. So this is a generator and a projector of etheric energy. And then if you have something here, again, that helps the energy. And if this connects deep into the earth, for example, even in the garden, you might have a giant rock. Someone might be lucky, have a giant rock half underground, a little bit sticking out. You could build this because it will connect to a giant rock underground. And again, like I said, it doesn't have to be a square. Perhaps the next most powerful one might be the pentagram. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean pentagram, and this is made up of three triangles. 1, 2, And then where's the third one? 3. And these are the triangles of incommensurable geometry. The 108, 36, 36 degree triangle. This triangle is the water molecule. So this is why it's a magic symbol. It's because it's Pythagorean mathematics. And in the same business, you build up the sticks into a spiral pyramid, like a teepee, and put something at the top, and you have another crystal there. Now again, you might recognize that from magic. Don't be nervous. Again, it's just got a bad reputation. This is real magic, but we can handle it. It's not dark magic. It's just magic. That is what the ether is, magic. But we're using magic with real objects to create real technology, a real effect. So that's the plans for the spiral pyramid. And like I said, you can play with it. And I want to build a giant one. So if I had a giant one, you know, I'd have to have really big, heavy sticks to support it. And I've got a giant crystal. But it means you'd have a little crystal down here. You know, it's very difficult to get a giant crystal. So if there's a little crystal at the bottom, again, you have to calculate the distance according to the size of the crystal. Work out. So this might be 1, and this might be 5, 5, 5, you know, multiples of 5. So this might be 4 times 5. 4 times 5 to go up, or something like that. So you have to work out, it's all to do with balance and ratios. So again, if you want to build a big one, please do get in touch and we'll design it properly together. And then we can do some real experiments and see how the garden or the farm grows. But again, you can also do it in reverse, by the way. So that is a projector, but you could have one. Let's do one like this, again, 2 dimensions. You could have it the other way round. You could have a point at the top pointing down. Crystal at the top pointing down. And then you could have this one at the bottom, the round one at the bottom. The same business. So now the energy is coming from the cosmos down into this one and hitting the earth, the other way around. Or of course you could be sitting in there as well. This could be you sitting in there. You probably wouldn't sit on top of it. But you can see it's a structure combined with resonant materials, crystals, combined with very careful geometry. And it's the geometry again of the golden ratio phi. That's the secret. But all sorts of geometry. Even if you don't think about that, think about beauty and symmetry. Symmetry. Symmetry again is the secret. You balance it. Balance it. So you've got to find 2 crystals that somehow balance each other nicely. Again, you've got to feel it. And the more you feel it, you'll know. You'll know, oh, I can feel the energy of this. It's going to work. So if you build this with feeling, it's going to have more power. Again, subjective technology. Don't dismiss this. This is the real deal. To make this into something, you know, we might actually measure a magnetic field, it requires some detailed calculations, some control of substances. Like here, this coil here could be gold wire. This is the most important part of the coil. If this was gold wire, it'd be more powerful, more electric current coming in here. You can also use mercury. Again, in the top of the old world buildings, you had a ball with mercury in it. If mercury moves, it creates electricity. So again, you can have a ball swinging with mercury in it. Again, that's a bit random, difficult to do. But this simple design, the spiral pyramid or the teepee, is extremely powerful. It's a simple method. We can all build an electroculture device and get on with it. Have a go, have a go. Think about it. Think about the balance of geometry and substances. See what you've got available to you, what you can build, and let me know how you get on. Please do let me know how you get on. Thank you so much. I hope this made sense. Please do leave me any questions or comments, and I hope to see you again in any of these other videos here.